In the heart of one of Earth's most inhospitable environments, a tiny spirit moves across the dunes. It's a whisper on the wind, a mirage in the scorching heat, almost impossible to see. But David, the tireless wildlife photographer, has embarked on a nearly impossible mission, to uncover the secrets of the desert's most enigmatic canid. How does such a small creature manage to thrive where life seems to refuse to exist? The protagonist of this story is the fennec fox, Vulpes certa, the smallest canid in the world, a jewel of nature perfectly adapted to its relentless home. Located in the vast and challenging Sahara Desert, which stretches across much of North Africa, this biome is a melting pot of extreme temperatures, endless sands, and an almost absolute scarcity of water. David arrived in the Sahara on a scorching sunny day, feeling the heat reverberate from the ground and the air vibrate with the mirage. With each step, his shoes sank into the fine, golden sand, molded into imposing dunes by the incessant wind. The silence was almost palpable, punctuated only by the distant rustling of the breeze and the shrill chirping of insects that seemed to defy logic. David set up a rudimentary camp, camouflaging himself among the rocks and sparse scrub. His eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of life. The dry, hot air seemed to suck the moisture from everything around him, and visibility was sometimes impaired by the dust that rose into the air. Even so, the austere beauty of the Sahara was undeniable. The sunset painted the sky with shades of orange and purple that seemed unrealistic, and at night, the sky opened up into a tapestry of stars so bright they seemed within reach. He could feel the sand, still warm from the day, beneath the canvas of his tent, and the smell of the dry earth permeated the air. It was a world of extremes, a perfect stage for the fennec fox's saga of survival. The vast and desolate landscape, with its constantly changing colors and the ephemeral shapes of the dunes, was a blank canvas for the stories David hoped to witness. He knew that every grain of sand and every breath of wind carried the promise of an extraordinary encounter, and amidst this vastness, the small desert fox was an enigma to be unraveled. But something in that wild gaze seemed to carry a story that had yet to be told. The fennec fox is a master of adaptation, and David soon began documenting its almost unbelievable survival tactics. To hunt, the fennec uses its super-developed hearing, the largest among canids relative to body size, to detect tiny, subterranean prey. With their gigantic ears, which also serve as radiators to dissipate heat, they can hear the movement of insects, rodents, and even reptiles under the sand, even at great distances. David spent hours observing a fennec dig with surprising speed, its front paws working tirelessly to unearth a scorpion or a lizard. The photographer's patience was tested, as often, the prey was captured in a matter of seconds, before he could adjust his lens. Their diet is omnivorous and opportunistic, consuming everything from grasshoppers and beetles to small birds, eggs, and fruits found in sparse oases. David noticed how they take advantage of the moisture from their prey and succulent plants to survive without needing to drink water for long periods. To protect themselves from the brutal daytime heat and nocturnal predators like jackals and owls, fennec foxes are mostly nocturnal and build complex burrows, with multiple tunnels and chambers that can extend for meters below the sandy surface. David spent several nights on vigil, waiting for the exact moment when the small, curious pups would emerge from their dens to explore the world under the moonlight. He witnessed their agility as they moved, gliding across the dunes like shadows, and the caution with which they approached any strange sound. David's patience was rewarded with glimpses of rare behaviors, such as a fennec piling small stones at the entrance of its burrow to prevent sand from entering, or another, more audacious one, trying to fish for a beetle with the tip of its snout. He realized that the fennec's life was a delicate dance between hunting and escaping, survival and vulnerability, a ballet of sharp instincts and ingenious tactics that only the desert could forge. It was at this moment that a strange presence changed the course of that animal's journey. The fennec fox's adaptations extend far beyond its hearing and burrows. Scientifically, its diminutive size, weighing between 1 and 1.5 kilograms and standing about 20 centimeters tall, is an advantage in the desert, as it requires less energy to regulate body temperature. Its paws are covered in thick fur, forming a kind of sand shoe that protects them from the scorching ground and provides grip on the dunes, allowing them to move with surprising speed. David recorded a fennec running so fast it seemed to float across the sand, leaving only almost imperceptible tracks. Another fascinating detail is the efficiency of their kidneys, which produce highly concentrated urine, minimizing water loss. In terms of social behavior, fennec foxes live in family groups of up to 10 individuals, with a dominant breeding pair and their offspring from different litters. David was fortunate enough to observe intimate social interactions, such as mutual grooming and communication through barks, yips, and whimpers. He managed to record a moment of play between two pups, a behavior rarely documented in detail, where one nudged the other down a gentle dune, and then they curled up together to sleep under the starlight. Culturally, the fennec fox is often associated with cunning and intelligence in North African legends, seen as a guardian of the desert secrets. There are Bedouin stories that speak of their ability to predict sandstorms, alerting travelers with their sharp barks. David encountered a behavior never before photographed, a fennec that seemed to be spying on David's camp, its large ears directed towards the sound of the camera, as if trying to decipher what that strange object was. This moment of mutual curiosity between the photographer and the wild creature was one of the highlights of his expedition, proof of the intelligence and adaptability of these small canids. But the silence of the forest was broken, and the fight for life began. The serenity of the Sahara was brutally interrupted. A relentless sandstorm, heralded by a sudden silence and an orange hue on the horizon, began to form. David, accustomed to the capricious nature of the desert, immediately sought shelter, but his thoughts were with the fennec foxes, especially the small pup he had observed straying from the group earlier. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, raising walls of sand that swallowed everything in sight. Visibility dropped to near zero, and David felt the fine, cutting sand whip his skin, penetrating every crevice of his clothes and equipment. It was a scene of chaos and desolation. Through his camera's lens, protected as best as possible, David caught a disturbing glimpse. The fennec pup, caught off guard by the storm's fury, was visibly disoriented, its tiny paws struggling to find purchase in the shifting sand. It barked desperately, a weak sound muffled by the wind, trying to communicate with its family, who had already vanished into the yellow haze. David felt a tightening in his chest. The small fennec seemed so fragile in the face of nature's overwhelming power. He witnessed everything with raw emotion, the helplessness of being unable to intervene, unable to offer help. His mission was to document, not to interfere, but seeing that small life in peril tested his resilience as an observer. The pup's desperation was palpable, and David knew every second counted, for the desert does not forgive weakness. And when the worst seemed inevitable, nature showed its most improbable answer. When the sandstorm began to subside, revealing a desert once again bathed in sunlight, an exhausted David continued his search for the pup. He knew the odds were minimal, but his determination was unwavering. It was then that he witnessed something remarkable. The small fennec pup, though still trembling and covered in sand, had found a makeshift refuge, a small indentation under a rock, where the wind hadn't deposited as much sand. Even more impressively, it wasn't alone. The pup's desperate barks, even muffled by the storm, had been heard. The pup's mother, with her sharp intelligence and instinct, had managed to track it, navigating through the chaos of the storm, and was now nestled beside it, shielding it with her own body. The scene was one of moving tenderness. The mother gently licked the pup, cleaning the sand from its fur, while it snuggled into her, exhausted but safe. David, his hands still trembling from the cold and the adrenaline of the storm, raised his camera and captured the most important photograph of his expedition. It was a raw and powerful image, the desert fox, mother and child, side by side, a testament to the resilience and unwavering love of wildlife. The photograph captured not just the overcoming of an obstacle, but the essence of life in the desert, the ability to find hope and strength even in the most challenging moments. David felt a wave of admiration and relief. Nature, in its wisdom, had provided the most improbable answer, the strength of the family bond and the persistence of an indomitable spirit. At the end of his journey in the Sahara, David reflected on what he had learned from the little fennec. More than just the incredible ability to survive in extreme conditions, he witnessed the strength of family connection and the unwavering resilience of wildlife. The fennec is a vivid reminder that even the smallest creatures can possess monumental strength. However, the survival of these spirits of the sands isn't guaranteed. While not critically endangered, the species faces increasing challenges due to human expansion, hunting for the pet trade, and climate change affecting its delicate ecosystem. The fennec story is an inspiring message about balance and respect for nature. Every life in the desert, no matter how small, plays a vital role in maintaining this fragile ecosystem. Protecting the fennec and its habitat means protecting the biodiversity of the Sahara, ensuring that future generations can witness the beauty and resilience of these incredible animals. David's camera may have captured an image, but what his eyes saw will be imprinted forever. And now, this story is yours too. Subscribe to hear what nature still has to tell and join us in the mission to protect these wild stories.